Should we just start? It's just too awkward sitting here in silence. We're gonna wait for her. Wait for who? Marilou's here? Oh, she was gossiping in the kitchen when I left. Wow. First Lady of Ephraim. Bailey's. Yeah, Brother Bailey's here. All right, I guess we'll get started. 7 o'clock. 18th day of March, 2026. Ephraim City Council. Load everybody out in Zoom land. I guess we'll call a roll.
Yes. Councilmember Burt.
Here.
Councilmember Deline.
Here.
Mayor Larson.
I'm present.
Councilmember Nordfeld.
Here.
Councilmember Beal.
Here.
And Councilmember Stefan.
Thank you. A prayer will be given by our Community Development Director. Mike Gimlick.
Our Father in heaven, I'm grateful for the opportunity to gather tonight as friends and associates and as representatives of the community. We pray thy Spirit to be with us tonight as we ponder decisions to be made on behalf of the city. Please bless us with wisdom and inspiration to make the correct choices. We're grateful for the freedoms that we have in our country. We ask thee to bless our country and our community. We say this in the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen. Amen. Thanks, Brian. Pledge of Allegiance, almost the same way as. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks. Well, it's nice to have a few of the seats filled up today. That's good. I guess we'll start with some public comment, and the only one we have is Sister Anderson.
I know the drill here. You're supposed to state your name, Margie Anderson, and it's really weird to be on this side of the dais, just so you know.
Ex-councilwoman Margie.
Okay, I'm here to just give a different point of view on something that maybe hasn't been considered by the Scandinavian Committee. I'm not here to criticize, just here to give a viewpoint. Each city in Sanpete County has a city celebration. Fountain Green has Lamb Day, and they have those lamb sandwiches and that grueling softball tournament. Moroni, Mount Pleasant, Gunnison do the 4th. Mayfield, Sterling, Fairview, and Spring City do the 24th. Ephraim, when I first moved here, had Rambalay days. I don't remember exactly what we did, but there was that for a little while. Do you remember? Well, you weren't even alive, probably, Lauren. But then for Ephraim, what came was the Scandinavian Festival. And, it was a grassroots type thing, and it was pretty much a community celebration. We even did our own dancing. I even have the costume from my Scandinavian dancing days. Can't fit into it, but I do have it. It's not the caliber of the BYU folk dancers, but I love the Scandinavian Festival then, and I love it dearly today. The connections to Scandinavian heritage for so many have expanded from our city to the state and who knows where else. Dennis could probably tell us. I also love the roots of the festival and the many who have provided service and music. It's a festival across the state, but it's still our hometown celebration too. I have followed the Fado Professors, clever name and clever people, for many years. And when I hosted a conference at Snow College with all the registrars and admissions officers from across the state, and Jack and Barbara catered the meal, and the Fado Professors came. And boy, were they a hit. There were people requesting tunes by the end of that dinner that night. So I hear that they're not going to be part of the festival after about 30 years. And it's a little less, Chris used the term, Mayor Chris, that there's a little kerfluffle, not a big one. I think everyone was handling things well. But I saw former Snow employees making comments. I saw a former city councilman, former president of Snow, other people that have worked at Snow for a long time, or been or who are alumni of the Fat Old Professors, or POP, as I saw that you could call it now. But here were my two favorite comments. One was actually other communities are making a bid for the Fat Old Professors to come to their celebration now. But here's my favorite comment. Inconceivable, 3 exclamation points. You are the tradition. No Vikings feast, and now this, which I thought was pretty funny and clever. So I just think that they've been part of the festival forever, and they are my friends. And so and they're friends to many in our community. I remember Vance Larson doing a historical piece at the Scandinavian Festival on the bands in the early days. Every town, every pioneer town had a band, and they all thought they had the best community band. So I like to listen to them. I think they're fun. They don't play Scandinavian music, but I wonder if there isn't room to have our authentic Scandinavian performers, because I'm telling you, the Scandinavian Festival has grown into something that we should be really proud of. But I'm hoping that there might be room for a few local artists too. So that's all I have to say, and I'm very happy to have this wonderful council and mayor that's leading our city right now. And as I said, I didn't mean it as any kind of criticism, more just looking at it from a different point of view. So thank you. Oh, and now I have to watch AJ play soccer up at North Sandy, so.
Wow, just eat them. Okay, onward and upward. Presentations, water rate study. Read a trick.
So I'm gonna pull up a PowerPoint to help walk through this. I believe you should have a copy of the drinking water rate study in your documents. It's quite robust, 23 pages. So I'm gonna try my best to summarize and explain why it is so large. So first and foremost, presentation of our drinking water reports. I work for the Rural Community Assistance Corporation. It's a nonprofit that works throughout the west of the United States. We're a part of a federal organization that serves the entire country. And the only reason I want to show this is that we do rate studies all across the country, and I've been doing this for years. And if you have any questions, if I can't answer them, someone in that map should be able to. And again, read a trick. That is my contact information. He did the sewer portion of the rate study. So of course, the purpose of the rate study is to try and understand if revenue coming in is meeting not only the bills, the system expenses, but also saving for the future of the system. The drinking water system is expensive, as is the sewer water system. There's millions of dollars of infrastructure buried under the ground, put in there years ago that we just don't think about. Sorry, I'm nervous. That we just don't think about, but it is aging. And that $1 million pipe 30 years ago is going to cost quite a bit more when it needs to be replaced in 20 years when it ages out. So the purpose is to answer these questions, right? Is the system financially self-sustainable? That question also asks, is revenue paying for the true cost of the system? So not just the bills you see coming in and out of the door, but really, are you saving enough money to pay for that multi-million-dollar replacement when it does come? It will come. And those bullet points will address further on. So of course, what does it cost? On page 11 and 12, there are line items of the budget lined out, so you can kind of see a more detailed representation of what you're spending money on every single day. I've categorized them into operation and maintenance expenses. These things usually fluctuate with the amount of water people are drinking. General and administrative expenses, things like insurance, retirement accounts, they're things that don't necessarily change no matter if people are drinking water or not. In this category, that general and administrative expenses is where we're going to consider reserves, the amount we're putting toward the future. And that total at the bottom. And I'll also point out that the reason the number goes up is because I projected future costs to increase with 4% inflation. That might be a little bit high, but given the last few years, I can show you a different inflation number if you like. And of course, that line item, general administrative is the biggest expense that your system is going to face, and that's because of the reserves that should be accounted for the future. Again, on page 13, they're all spelled out how I calculated those, but essentially you have a debt reserve that's kind of mandated by your loans, how much you need to have in the bank times typically 1 year of payments. That's quite a big number. Your operating reserve, 45 days of operation expenses, your emergency reserve, the cost of purchasing and installing your most expensive critical asset. And then your annual capital reserve. So that's how much every single year you should be saving toward those big ticket items. Right now, the reserves are looking good. You have about $3.6 million in reserves, which means that at least for 1 year, they're all fully funded. And then you have some left over. And we'll touch on what to do with those extras. Again, the question I always get, and I just try to reiterate, is that the big spender is often the savings towards your capital replacements. So in the appendix on the last page, you can see all of the assets mapped out, how many there are, and essentially how much they're going to cost to replace and how long you have to save up for them. That big number is $240,000 a year for capital replacements. Just try to reiterate that there. It's not one time, it's every single year. And then it's included in the general and administrative expenses because it's considered an expense. It's something to be paid for, to be saved up for. So in each scenario that I'm going to walk through, that's the number. Those numbers are what we're trying our revenue to meet. And it's a lot of numbers on the page, and the table can be confusing. So I just want to reiterate that the total expenses, again, include your bills coming in and out of the door and your contributions to reserves every year. Okay, yeah, and then our revenue. So as you can see, the revenue page isn't too big. You have essentially your sales revenue and then some additional sources of revenue. Those are explained in detail on page 12. But really what we're going to focus on is the sales revenue. And in our scenarios, that's the source of revenue we're going to be impacting when we change the rates. So yes, you do have other sources, those have been considered, but I think this shows that the majority of your revenue does come from sales or customer billing. Great, so these are the questions we're trying to answer, right? You can go ahead again, Brian. And the big one on the bottom is it affordable for customers? Go ahead. This is a federal standard and equation on how to calculate affordability. Essentially, it's the monthly base rate over the monthly median household income. Median's a big word, right? It's the middle number. This comes from the census. I think it was the 2022 census. It might not be true to the community today, whether it's too small or too big. Federally, 1 to 2.5% is considered affordable for drinking water rates. In the table, there's a little section that says affordability. That's based on inside city limit residential customer bills. It does not consider outside resident customer bills. And again, the tables can be kind of confusing, but are bills being paid? Those are those red squares right there. Essentially, they're being answered by, is there positive annual cash flow? Yes or no? And how much are we short or over our annual cash flow is in that net cash flow column. And are savings sufficient for the future? Answered by, are we fully funding reserves? Yes or no? And then how much we're short or over our reserve goal will be in the net loss or gain category. And again, affordability is laid out in the table as well. So scenario 1, no change to customer billing.
Scenario 0.
Scenario 0, correct, thank you. On page 16, no changes to customer billing. There are way more within city limit customers than outside of city limit customers, but they're still part of the customer base. There was no construction customers considered, and there was one not in use customer that was charged $0, so it's not going to be considered in the rest of the scenarios. These are the results. So essentially answering our big questions, right? Are we paying our bills off? That's that bottom row. No. Rates right now are not sufficient to even pay the bills coming in. And then that net cash flow contributions to reserves, that's saying how much are we using of our current reserves to pay our bills. So not only are you not saving toward your reserves, you're using your reserves to pay for system expenses. And then are we fully funding the system? Do we have sufficient revenue to save for the future? No, right? We can't be expected to save if we can't pay our bills. If we consider how much we're expected to be saving every year, that was like $240,000. And then we're also using reserves to pay our bills. There's a large deficit of our reserve goal. Does that make sense so far? Okay, great. Then comes scenario 1. So if we were to change bills all at once, that some communities choose to do this. I put in the document, I think it's on page 17, how I estimated this. There would essentially be a base rate for what it costs to produce water, and then a capital improvement fee, or saving toward capital improvements. That rounds out to what you see in front of you. The usage rates were not changed. So this is simply a base rate change. It's a $17 increase for within city limits, and it looks like $45, $44.50 for outside city limit customers. And what those results are, you're able to pay your bills every single year. That's great. You're also contributing to your reserves, which means you're funding as expected for the first 3 years. Then as inflation starts to rise, expenses go up, you are not projected to fully fund your reserves in years 4 and 5. Do take a look at the 5-year sum column. Although you're short in years 4 and 5, the surplus of what you make in the first 3 years covers that deficit in the long run. Of course, what this means is if you don't increase rates after year 5, what's happening today will continue to happen. You will use your reserves to pay for expenses, and you will not be funding your fully funding your system for the future. It is affordable by federal standards. It's 1.3%. So on a federal level, it's considered affordable. That one-time increase cannot be appetizing for some. So I also did scenario 2, which is a gradual increase year after year. It's on page 19. As you can see, gradually building up to $66.46 in year 5 and almost $100 in year 5. And the reason those values are more at the end of year 5 is because you're having to make up for what you're not making in those first few years. And the results of that, kind of what's expected, you're not raising rates high enough in the first year to pay your bills, but every year after that, you are bringing enough money to pay the bills. And then you gradually build your reserves up and you are able to also fully fund your reserves by year 4 and 5. Checking out that last column again, the sum of all 5 years. Even by year 5, you are not fully funding all the reserves needed for the system. So you can continue that increasing rates trend and try to meet it in years 6 and so on. But that's what it's looking like. And then scenario 3, kind of a mix of both, is an initial increase and then a 10% increase every year after that. That starts on page 20. So in year 5, you have a 48.32 bill and a 72.47 bill. And again, you can see the red chart there. At the end of 5 years, though, you have a significant reserve deficit, but you are able to pay your bills. The next slide. So what this slide is showing is essentially what you have now and then what the rates look like to break even in the future if you choose one of the 3 options. So breaking even and fully funding your reserves looks like a bill that's above $47 for inside customers, and then a bill that's above $70.50 for outside customers. So my conclusions and recommendations, current rates don't fully fund the system. It's given, and rates should be increased to fully reflect and better recover the true cost of operating the system. If you want this system to function in the future, it's going to take a lot of money and a lot of investment, and you need to save up for that, or there probably will be stark rate increases in the future when something fails and there's not enough money to cover it. And then to support effective long-term planning, I really think that EFRM could benefit from a more detailed capital improvement plan or capital replacement plan or an asset management plan. As you can see on that back page, there's not that many items listed. I don't see any vehicles listed. I don't see any buildings listed. If you really consider every single asset that's used by the drinking water system, and you go into more detail and a better prediction about when it's going to fail, you will have a better prediction about how much you need to save each year for the future. That rough estimate that I did is still a significant investment that from the rates projected, you would need a pretty significant rate increase to fully cover the cost of the system. Are there any questions I can answer right now?
I don't know if you know this, but in the past, some of us here may know this. In the past, we've just done a rate increase and then it's just stayed for however many years until we decide we need another one.
Yeah, that's definitely what a lot of systems do. But what we're seeing is that a lot of systems were put in 40, 50 years ago, and the average lifespan of the most expensive assets is 50 to 60 years. So you're probably, and Jeff, I don't know if you're here, thank you, can probably speak to if maintenance has happened more frequently or breaks have happened more frequently. But that big main line down Main Street is going to need to be replaced, and it's going to cost millions of dollars. And it's better to save up for that than to have to go after a high interest loan that you're not prepared for, or start rate increases. Even if you don't fully cover the reserves needed, you can at least make a plan for how you're going to pay for it when it does fail. And that's the start of projecting good rates and taking care financially of your system is planning to go after low interest loans or grants or seeking other options to reduce costs.
You remember what our last rate increase was, Brent?
It's been a couple of years, so. Talking to remind, but typically when we've done rate increases in the past, there's 2 things that trigger a rate increase historically. One is, we pursue, like we did a well project for well number 2. We got a partial loan, partial grant. For the loan part, we went to the state of Utah for a loan. They required us to raise our rates in order to make the payments for the loan. to do the well. So that's one trigger. The other part is just when we see it's getting pretty desperate, we're going in the red, we gotta right the ship somehow. We've done rate increases. It's been probably, 5 years, about 5 years for rate increase. It's been a little while. One of the issues we've had just is the huge amount of cost rises. You know, everybody knows costs are getting expensive, and we're not immune to that. The price we pay for a single stick of pipe has doubled or tripled in some cases. We hit the same price increases as everybody else. It's really difficult to, and we've absorbed those increases over the years without raising our rates. We are in need of, that's why we're doing this, is just to take a look at where we're at.
So we're subsidizing each meter by $17 a month.
In order to break even and cover replacement costs and fund our reserves. That's basically the findings of this, right?
All right, well done.
And I will also say that I did give some scenarios here, but it is a spectrum. If you choose not to go with the smallest rate increase, or if you choose to go with the biggest rate increase, like, it's all an estimate. And wherever you fall, there's no golden egg. Things might get more expensive, inflation might reduce. But it looks like significantly underfunding the system.
This about
Thanks.
excellent. Then, Chad, you're up.
All right. Hey, again, I'm Chad Bush with RCAC. One other little tidbit for RCAC. The work that we do is funded by the government, so we haven't charged Ephraim for any of this, and that's the nice thing about our organization. We're here to help and not dig into your pockets.
You must not be from the government.
No, absolutely not. All right, sewer rate study. We'll kind of fly through this because Rita kind of covered this, but purpose of it is to assess the financial sustainability of the current rates, ensure the rates reflect the true costs for providing services and keeping the system up to par and keep you guys running without too many problems. And to evaluate if there's rate adjustments that are needed at the time. Why does that matter? Sewer utility operations, maintenance, and other significant ongoing expenses. You want to make sure, as Rita pointed out, just meeting revenue for the expenses, make sure it's getting covered and not going into a deficit somewhere. Oh, you're good. You're good. Adequate funding is required for daily operations, emergency response, future repairs, capital improvement projects, hiring other people. That's not on my bullet points, but if you find yourself needing more staff to take care of responsibilities, there may need an increase or you might need the increase of the reserve funds to be able to get in a good position for finding loans and grants and things like that. I don't remember the exact legislation, but I know something just passed that the state is going to require systems to be more actively putting into their reserves before they can get any funding. Because there is federal funding that has gone away, that's gone to the state. They need to make that up, and they want to make sure systems they're helping out are going to be able to step up and take care of it. What does this study include? It reviews financial conditioning using the budget and utility data, analysis based on information from city staff and the approved budget records. We used a modeling tool that we have with RCAC to look at these rates. And we're going to compare three different models. The outcome of this is providing estimated financial results for each rate option. And this will help support informed decisions on your part. All right, so the three scenarios that I did does look at the next 5 years. And I put an A and B in there. The reason why I did scenario 1A and 1B or 2A, 2B, and so forth. The B option is looking at a $700,000 amount that has not been allocated for anything that's a reserve. From my understanding was from a transaction of, I don't know if it's real estate or something, but there is that extra amount. And so when I was talking with John, we wanted to look at some of the numbers that could potentially offset some costs. So I just wanted to throw that in there to see what it would look like in each scenario. Scenarios 2 and 3 show the needed rates increases that will get you to covering your expenses with the proper amount of revenue coming in. The other assumptions, just like with the water, we are assuming 4% inflation each year. We're assuming 1% annual customer growth within the system. And I used the 2026 budget that was approved to get this baseline to be as accurate as we could for moving forward. Currently, the sewer rates are $33 for 10,000 gallons. And if you go over 10,000 gallons of culinary water use, it'll be another $2 per 1,000 gallons. Currently, the rate affordability is at 0.56%, which is fantastic. It is definitely a good number showing that it's very affordable, with the concern of this might be too affordable and not bringing in enough money to help get you the reserves to cover your costs. All right, so scenario 1A, it's keeping the existing $33 a month, not changing anything. With this, it's going to use annual reserves annually to help offset your O&M costs, which will end up depleting your reserves if rates are not changed by 2031. Your reserves would be gone or in the negative. So this is going to lead to gaps between revenue and expenses. It's going to require a larger rate in the future to help offset the damage to the reserves. And it's going to potentially defer maintenance and upkeep of the system or installing new sections of the system or equipment. So this is the 5-year outlook. My eyes, I should have brought my glasses. Give me 1 second here. All right, so this is showing the 5-year outlook if you made no changes. And 2027, you can see that the expenses and the revenue don't cover you. The revenue does not cover your expenses. You're going to go into your reserves about $163,000, and that just continues on. You can see that revenue is increasing just a little bit there, and that's due to the projection of potentially 1%. So the scenario 1B is again keeping the $33 a month, but you're going to offset O&M costs with that $700,000 over the space of 5 years. I do believe, if I remember correctly, it's about $140,000 out of that every year, which keeps your rates really low. It does not deplete all of your existing reserves. They will deplete, and that $700,000 that is unallocated right now will be depleted within that 5 years just to help turn the lights on, basically. All right. Let's see. I already covered that one, I think. All right, so the takeaways, both 1A and 1B are financially unsustainable under current rates. Without changes, sewer utility will face ongoing deficits, declining reserves, deferred maintenance risk, and a large, more impactful rate increase in the future. And with that said, every year rates probably is a good thing to look at even after this study, instead of just saying, hey, 5 years, we're amazing. If you guys decide on any of these rates and do make some changes, it's still advisable to take a look at it after a year, say, okay, where did we go? Did costs end up going more? If you got construction projects, things like that, construction inflation is a lot higher than just routine O&M inflation, at least from what I've seen over the last few years. Is construction projects have just, everything's outrageous. But if you do end up with a lot of that, there may need to be some adjustments made along the way versus just digging your heels in and just saying, okay, we're sticking with this for 5 years. Just to make those changes so you don't get a deficit. All right, so the 2A. So this is the one that I recommend in the end, and we can see that at the end, but this one, the annual base rate increases every 5 year or every year, and the rate increase I rounded just up to the nearest 25 cents. It just helps with the math, it helps with how it looks, helps with the billing. And I didn't want to recreate anything for your billing structure or anything like that. I wanted to keep everything pretty similar, but give that rounding up. That could help. Just, it gives a few extra thousand potential buffer with that rounding. The projections show that revenue and expenses will stay balanced. So currently your budget tries to balance out all the expenses with the revenue. So I try to maintain that. There is a goal to try to reach a reserve of 1.75 in the next 1.75 million in the next 5 years. Currently, there's 1.5. And so it would be basically $50,000 a year in expenses going towards your reserve fund to help meet that goal of having that many reserves for the sewer fund. This rate increase, it does meet the needs of the system. Your expenses and your revenue match up. The monthly rate increases, you're going from the current $33 a month now. And by 2031, your rates would be at $46.25. The percent affordability still remains low. Currently on the sewer rates, again, you're at the 0.56%. This only takes it up to 0.79%. So it's still staying, which balances out with the water affordability is a little bit on the higher side. This helps to even that out and not hurt so bad. All right, this is the 5-year outlook with the 2A. 2027, the rates would go up to $38.25. That takes you up to a 0.65% affordability. The revenue and the expenses line up, and you do get the additional revenue or reserves in place with this projection.
So additional reserves is part of the expenses.
Yes, yeah.
Already.
Yeah. And then that bottom table is just showing kind of the rates with the rounding. So without rounding, it'd be $38.13, but with the rounding, it goes up to $38.25 a month for your base sewer rate. So not a huge deal. And the buffer on the right side, the far right side of that, is just the projected potential of a little bit extra that could go to reserves or other things, and that's only just under $4,000. So it's not like you're dinging anybody, and it's just a projection as well. It really depends on if there's 1% growth, things like that.
If the growth exceeds 1%, these numbers will be better.
Yeah,
For us.
yeah, absolutely.
Or if inflation is less than 4%.
Then it's all looking better for you. And then that's where evaluating your rates every year. It's like, oh, you know what, we grew by 10%, or wow, what happened? We had no inflation this year and our costs went down. Then you can just say, you know what, we put all this extra here, maybe we can go ahead and not do this rate increases this year or whatever. So it definitely helps out, or it gives you the potential to help out there.
But the more people you put onto it could be the bigger demand on the system,
Yep,
or the more people to maintain the system.
yep, exactly.
So it can be.
It can hurt you as well. Yeah, yeah, if you end up having to do a bunch of construction or expand your lagoons, or your lagoons aren't handling everything and you gotta do a big project there, that's where having these reserve funds is gonna be great, because when you go for that funding, it's like, yeah, we've got this here. oh yeah, we're gonna go ahead and loan to you, and our interest rates on that loan is gonna be a lot lower. And you can go ahead and get the lagoons taken care of, or install that collection system addition, or anything like that. All right, scenario 2B, again, that one is just utilizing the $700,000 to offset O&M costs. It works out good. I mean, you look at the numbers and everything looks good. The reason why I don't recommend that one is just that you're depleting those funds for turning the lights on. There's a lot better things that $700,000 could do to put you in a better situation for future plans, or maintaining the system, or keeping track of all the assets and asset replacement and capital improvement things, or doing a GIS system or something like that. Those are just examples that go through my head. My background prior to this is I worked in water treatment. I was a superintendent for water treatment plants in a few different cities over my years. And that's what I would hope to do with something like that if it was happening in my system, is like, yeah, let's not do this. Let's try to get this so we can better do our job and avoid having huge increases because we missed something. All right. But that one, so the balanced budget, using the unallocated reserves, the rates stay a little bit lower. So you're looking at 33.75, the first rate. You're still hitting the revenue points that you need with the expenses, and you're adding to your reserves. But you do deplete that other unallocated amount of money going for turning the lights on. All right. Both scenarios prevent deficits and meet city reserve targets. 2A is a higher rate increase that preserves the unallocated reserves for other uses. 2B has lower rates increases and prevents depletion of the unallocated funds in 5 years. I typed that wrong. I think you would deplete your unallocated funds in 5 years. Rates will need to increase in the future to cover the O&M costs. So that's 700,000. If it's taking care of that, all of a sudden at 5 years, it's like, oh, we just got slapped in the face. We've been relying on this. Now we've got to cover these costs and make up the revenue at that point in time. Both of them do remain below the 1% MHI for both those options. All right, 3A and 3B are identical to 2A with the exception. This one is just rounding your base rate for each year up 50 cents instead of the 25. And so the outcome is all pretty much the same. It's just you're going to get a potential of a little extra of that buffer. So like with 3A, not using the unallocated funds, you have the potential of anywhere from 4,000 to 15,000 of a buffer that you're going to be able to have potentially with that 50 cent rounding. Other than that, everything's the same. You're still meeting your revenue and expenses. You're still building your reserve fund. You're still remaining below the 1% affordability on both these scenarios. And then the 3B is using that 700,000. So that's, you're still accomplishing all that. You're just depleting that 700,000. Go ahead and skip that one. So the conclusion, scenario 1A, no change, leads to deficits and depletes the reserves. Scenarios 2 and 3 achieve long-term financial sustainability, budgets that the revenue and expenses match up with, reserves grow to the targeted levels, rates that remain within affordability thresholds, and the system maintains quality of service and continues to improve and grow and expand and be able to do that. 2A is my recommendation. And again, it is just a recommendation. There's plenty of things that you could look at. But what I looked at is it remains affordable. It's not a huge increase. And yet the first rate increase for the first year is less than a Happy Meal. It's like $8 if I remember correctly. So it's not like you're increasing it another $20 or $30 a month. It's less than $10 a month. So it doesn't hurt real bad on that. It maintains your balanced budgets, which means revenue and expenses equal each other out. It preserves and grows the reserve levels to where the goal is set at. And it avoids future financial erosion by staying stagnant with your rates. And it ensures the city meets current and long-term system needs responsibly. That's all I have. Is there any other questions or anything at this time?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chad. I don't know why everything has to be more expensive. All right, thank you very much for those. Move on to section 2, consent items. I guess we'll have a ratification of the warrant register and approval of the city council meetings. So I guess I'm looking for a motion.
I move that we approve the consent items.
Councilmember Beal has made a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Greg Birch has seconded that. All in favor?
Yeah.
Any opposed? All right, study agenda, water and sewer rate discussion by Brian Kimball.
So really wanted to take a look at, what is the reality facing us? So, as we mentioned earlier, there's a need to consider replacement cost. We have a system that is aging. A good number of our pipes are 50 years old. Some of our pipes are newer, but some of them are not. We have water tanks that are, 40, 50 years old. What are we looking at? So we did hire, partner with RCAC, just to try and take a look at that. And you see the numbers really in order to really account for what's coming for inflation, for, replacement, to make our funds sustainable. You saw the recommendations there, but we've been looking at this internally with the staff, Public Works, our finance, city manager. We've compared this with some of our capital facilities plans that we've done previously. The capital facilities plans that we've done previously mostly considered new projects that would be required. There wasn't a lot of consideration for replacement of all of the assets as they mentioned. So mostly, we wanted to, bring it in front of the city council and just kind of help everybody get a sense of kind of what we're looking at here going forward. We've held off on rate increases for a long time. We've absorbed a lot of increases for a long time. But at some point, we got to make sure that our system is functional.
What money have you been using to subsidize it?
Primarily and these guys have crunched all the numbers so they can correct me if I'm wrong, but primarily we put off projects to replace. We do not build our reserves to replace for emergency funds. That's where the big chunk of that subsidizing comes from. It's not necessarily yet. We need a ton of money to do a bunch of work, but we aren't funding our system really the way it should be funded in order to handle emergencies when they come up and things like that. Did I say that right, John?
Yeah. Yeah, it hasn't really been an issue up to this point, because in the past, the price increases that we've seen lately haven't been there, but they're there now, and it's starting to potentially cause a problem for us.
Other questions?
And just as I'm thinking through this scenarios as we've been looking at them, and I'm realizing that all of us are feeling the crunch right now. And so sometimes it just feels like we're laying another layer on top of a layer. So help me understand, in the past, has our rates allowed us to meet these goals, and now we're just at a point where we haven't addressed it enough that we need to readdress it? Or are we in a situation where we're just looking into the future and saying, we now have to prepare for that because we prepared for this moment, but now we're not ready to go on to the next? Does that make sense? The question I'm asking?
You want to take that, John? John is our finance director. He knows the numbers better than anybody here, so.
I might know the numbers, but I don't know the system, so, deferred maintenance, that's probably a big thing with most cities. Nobody wants to raise the rates, we don't wanna do that. But the reality is, everything is becoming so expensive, and deferred maintenance can only be deferred so long before, maybe a project, if we would have maintained it, would be $1 million. And by putting that off, maybe now it's a $4 million project, so. I don't know, Jeff, you have any?
Well, we just have, we have several lines that are aging. You guys have probably all seen the holes in 400 East from the activity center over 400 South. That is an old cast iron water line with lead joints. They leak. We have to dig it up, put a repair clamp on, which costs us, 4 or 5 people a day of labor. By the time you get everything done, the asphalt is probably between $5,000 and $7,000 a repair. We have to do about every 20 feet. So it just depends on the year. So that line needs to be replaced. We've been putting that off since I've been here. Some of the old transite AC cement pipe needs to be replaced. It's along the perimeter of town. There's just lots of need. The 1 million gallon cement tank is in need of maintenance. So I know we've talked about that at our last retreat. There's just a lot that we've been band-aiding together for a lot of years, and as costs go up, I think on this last project we paid like it's $1,000 a stick for 12-inch pipe. So it's just the prices are just insane. Like $3,500 to $4,000 for one 12-inch valve. So the prices are just increasing like, everything else. So.
And I would say it's both items, so trying to catch up on some maintenance and also planning for the future. So there's both things that we're trying to look at.
And that the sewer system, we're in the same scenario. The interior of town, the original part of town, is either clay or cement pipes. We are able to right now rehab about 1,500 to 1,700 feet a year, and we have a mixture of cement and plastic. Obviously, we have about 34 miles of sewer pipe just in town. So I imagine probably 2/3 of that is cement and clay that needs to be replaced or rehabbed. So.
And our current rate per year, how long is it gonna take us to replace them?
I'd have to go in and see
To get a
the
calculator?
footage. Yeah, but we can do about 1,500 feet per year at our current allocation, so.
32 miles at 1,500 feet per year.
It's be a little while.
That's 71.8 years.
I would also encourage, doing an asset management plan or a capital replacement plan, or getting a full engineering evaluation of the system. It seems like there are reserves to be able to pay for those things. It's just like, there's a lot it seems like the system needs to do. And right now, you would use all of your reserves to put a Band-Aid on what seems to be a growing issue. You need to understand what needs to be prioritized and how much it's going to cost. And I would encourage you to get an engineering evaluation study done to understand what should be done first. And we used estimates. There isn't a capital improvement plan for Ephraim right now. And
RCAC doesn't do those.
we can estimate them, but I'm not gonna dig in the ground and tell you the condition of your pipe. But an engineer would. And unfortunately, it's probably gonna cost money. In addition to that, Ephraim has relied on federal grants and loans in the past. Given the current administration, like those are going away. Grants are almost zero for construction projects right now. And Ephraim is a growing city. They don't necessarily meet the median household income level to qualify for grants. And given the affordability, you're not charging enough to qualify for grants, and you're not, given the current people applying, you're probably not going to be prioritized for a low interest loan because your rates demonstrate that you're not paying for your system.
So I'll just add one more scenario really quickly, so everybody, you know, is on the same page. A couple of years ago, we were having issues with the BOD, bioavailable velocity demand, the loading at the sewer pond. We now have that under control, but in the future, especially, it depends on the growth rate, but we will need to either look into primary expansion or aeration or a combination of the two to handle the loading, just depending on how fast we grow. So that's in the future as well.
I just wanted to add, you know, really, you asked where the subsidizing comes from. We've been able to get a number of grants. We've really tried to keep rates as low as we possibly could. Every time we go and talk with anybody, we get the same story. The state tells us this, third party people tell us this, who studied this, your rates are too low, you're not charging enough, you need to raise your rates. We say, but we need to keep these affordable. So we've subsidized by getting some grants. We're doing a canyon line, water line replacement project right now with almost 93% grant, which is amazing. That is not common. But different administrations, different politics, you know, DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, some funds are going away that were there previously. It is enough of a worry that we reached out and started this process. We wanted a third party set of eyes that take a look at it, and from an outside perspective, what do they see?
If we were to make the changes that we're talking about and the rates that we were talking about, would we still be under that amount that you're saying would be needed for our future assistance from grants and other things?
Yeah, if you look at the drinking water, Chad, I think Chad was under 1%, and that's kind of the threshold. If you're under 1%, you're not paying for your system at a federal viewpoint. I think most of the scenarios included are above 1%, but they're all below that 2.5%. And right now, the systems that are being prioritized are the ones that are above that are paying exuberantly for their system.
They were just making numbers up. Say we're 5%. It is on the priority list.
All right, other questions? It's a crappy job, Jeff, but someone's gotta do it sometimes. Sure. All right, thanks. Amended power pooling agreement, Corey Daniels. Power Commissioner.
We'll change gears here a little bit, talk about power instead of water and sewer, but, you guys know,
Appreciate it.
we had the, you guys, most of you came to the, UAMPS, meeting that afternoon. Appreciate you guys coming. I'm just gonna go over a few things. This is obviously on the, it's not an action item, so it's just the talking points, but, Brian, if you'll bring that, slideshow up real quick. And I'll just follow along with that. If you guys have questions, feel free to ask me anything. I'll try to get those. There's a lot of definitions, there's a lot of acronyms. So try to help you out best I can there. Obviously, the purpose of this amended pooling agreement, it hasn't been updated since 1980. So that's why it's come into effect because of our extended day ahead market, which we're going to be joining May 1st of 2026. Obviously, since UAMPS is in the balancing authority of PacifiCorp, we are required to participate in the EDAM. So That's why this pooling agreement has had to been updated and restated, so. Yeah, UM's modernized power pooling agreement to meet this mandatory participation in EDAM for the other updates to reflect optional changes in the last 40 years. Why this is needed now, that's pretty much sums it up, is, you know, it hasn't been taken care of since 1980. With this EDAM coming into effect, we were going to be required to join because we're in Pacific Court's balancing authority. Yeah, you can go to that next slide, right? Is that okay? Yeah. So yeah, the originally pooling agreement was 1980. Obviously, that was what the old agreement is, focused on bilateral power purchase scheduling surplus sales to the UM's pool. So whatever pool or whatever power was available, it went into the pool. Let's say we had excess power and it went into the pool. It can be sold elsewhere, which they're going to change some structure there, which we can actually put into the market with the new pooling agreement. So if we have excess or somebody needs it that's close, let's say Mount Pleasant or Fairview or someone like that needs excess power and they don't have they're not resource efficient, and we have that excess, we can sell that to them on the bilateral market. Just so that's what the new pooling agreement states. Before that, if it couldn't happen. So that's really what the amended and restated pooling agreement talks about. It says allow for member autonomy and consistency with UM's mission, values, and goals. Next slide. This just shows the bilateral environment before, you know, how utility A, utility B, and utility C works. But centralized market environment, you can see there's a source, then the load. But then if there's excess load, it can go to that extra source, which can go to a new load. If you kind of follow that it separates the load and resource, so it's really complex, but it really tracks where that load's going to. If we have excess, we know that it's going to go to a certain member. If we do have excess, or if we need it from someone else as well. So that's really kind of a busy slide. Utility centralized market business model. Primary objective is still keep the lights on at minimum costs, oversee operation of generation, transmission, and load, which is your demand, and utilize UM shared services model for the economic benefit of the members. What's different is the separation between generation and load. Utilities load is served by the market through lowest cost market supplied resources. Is what that means is we can go out on the market and try to find a lower resource that we could buy off the market compared to what it was off the regular pooling agreement. So this is kind of changing that, where we had to buy off the market. We can go out and search for that lower cost of that resource. The utility sells generation into the market. So let's say we have generation we can sell into the market. That transaction will be a counterparty, and a lot of times where UMS takes care of a lot of that stuff for us, where we don't have to do a lot of that. So that will be a benefit to us as well, where we don't have someone sitting in a desk and selling our power like a Lehigh or a Murray or a Bountiful or someone like that. That's a larger city. So that's a little different there. Next slide, Brian. That seems like the same one. Yeah, all right. Major difference. It obligates participants to purchase all of its power requirements and associated resource efficiency obligation. So in the new EDAM, we have to be resource efficient. If we're not, we're going to be charged the transmission charge if we're not resource efficient. And what resource efficient is we have to cover all of our load. So let's say we have a 10 megawatt load, but let's say we have 8 megawatts allocated, but we have 10 megawatts load. We're short 2,000. We have to go out on that market, find that 2,000 extra megawatts of load, which is going to be the difference with this pooling agreement for UMs to go out and do that in the EDAM market. Does that make sense? It's kind of the difference there. because we have to meet the market resource efficiency obligations by Pacific Corp through the Energy Day Ahead Market. Annually, we will have to do annually, participants can elect to withdraw their authorization or opt out. But I don't think we'll ever do that. I don't think we'll ever opt out of this because UAMS helps us along the way purchasing that excess. So we will have meetings beforehand in October. I think the next slide kind of shows that. It shows that those meetings have to take place in October, and then once May 1st comes around, we will know what our load looks like. It's almost looking at a crystal ball and trying to figure all that out. And if we're long, that's okay, but as long as we are resource efficient with that, it's going to cover our loads. And keep in mind that we do have resources available out there, but it doesn't cover our load. With our new natural gas generator, it's going to help covering our load. So we're not going to have to go out on that market and purchase more power, but we're still going to have to. So there's still going to be that resource deficiency, not efficiency, deficiency. So
When you're talking about resource efficiency, is that us, just Ephraim, or is that UAMS?
So they're looking at every member, but it is a UAMS as a whole. It is. That's a good question. But it's looking at the overall load of UAMS as well. So they want to try to balance the whole UAMS load as well. Yeah, specifically. But if we are not resource efficient, and Ephraim alone, they will go out and buy that power to make us resource efficient. Yep.
Corey, if I remember right from that meeting.
Yeah.
The change is gonna mean that those who are needing more power will now have to pay for it instead of having the group absorb it all together. We're all now gonna be more responsible for our power. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, that is correct. And the causation will be towards the member. It's not going to be pretty much a pool. It's going to be causation is going to be towards us if we're short. We're going to be paid for that. We're going to have to pay for that. Exactly. Yep. I don't know if there's anything here, Brian, else. Obviously, the agreement becomes effective May 1st. So I'm going to bring this back to you guys April 1st. April 1st, next council meeting to be approved, hopefully, because it has to be done 30 days in advance. This remains in effect until terminated with 5 years notice, unless the short notice period is approved by the PMC, which is a project management committee. Any amendments to the agreement require a PMC approval, which there's been a lot of discussion and a lot of lawyers involved in this pooling agreement with UAMS and with other cities as well. I know our lawyer, Nick, has looked at it. So, and he will do a bring down letter, if I remember what it's called again. Yeah. Anyway, he'll have to do that and just give his opinion on it. It's an opinion letter. So, the governance of it established a project management committee similar to all those UAMS projects, one voting representative per participant. So I would be one of the voting representatives on this, where I'm a member or a representative. The board of directors ratification required for PMC actions, established the ability of the PMC to create an advisory committee to deal with complex topics. The EDM operational protocols between UAMS and members. Settlements allocation on causation basis. That's what we were just talking about. So, yeah, causation, charges and revenues directly attributed to a specific participant's resources or deficiencies shall be allocated to that participant. So that's a good question you brought up. Charges and revenues not attributable to a specific participant will be allocated among all pool participants according to the load ratio share, or another reasonable method as determined by the PMC. So obviously it's you can do an annual audit, will be completed to review market operations, settlement activity. Purpose is verify the accuracy and consistency of the settlement processing and allocation methodology. Evaluate operational market decisions in the market. Project Management Committee to provide future direction for process improvements based on the audit findings. And obviously, this is kind of over all our heads, I believe, this stuff right here, but the advisory committee, which they have appointed an advisory committee. There's large cities, there's small cities, there's staff involved in this advisory committee. So that's gonna oversee this new pooling agreement with the EDAM. I can read through this, but establish an advisory committee to assist in development, review, and recommendation of policies, procedures, and related exhibits, evaluates and makes recommendations regarding forecasting methodologies, building practices, scheduling procedures, data requirements, reporting formats. Advisory committee is selected by the pool project chair, which they've done already. They must include a participant of different sizes and resource mixes, works in coordination with staff. The advisory committee makes recommendations to the PMC for approval. So they'll actually go through that advisory committee once a month, but then they'll bring that to the PMC. If there's any discrepancies or changes that need to be looked at, they'll come towards the PMC when we have our monthly meetings. UAMS will develop an annual purchase plan to meet aggregate forecast efficiency of all non-opt-out participants. We won't be a non-opt-out participant. Two types of purchases. Purchase to meet forecasted efficiencies will be allocated to a participant on the load and resource forecast at time of the purchase. Purchase to meet resource sufficiency obligations will be allocated among participants based on contribution to deficiency during settlements. And obviously, PMC will approve the annual purchase plan of that two types of purchases. So, and this, I mentioned this earlier. This just kind of shows you the timeline of UAMS will do a individual participant load and resource forecast for us. As you guys all know, we're growing about 8% a year energy wise. So our load's increasing substantially every year. So
So Corey, just
go
to
ahead.
make sure that we understand what you're saying, the city itself is growing at about 2%, right?
Yes.
But our energy is growing at 8%. Therefore, the people who are already here each year are using more energy than they did the year before, which is causing the increase in our power needs.
Yeah, that's true. Plus the new growth we've experienced too. And I think a lot of that, I would say if you used to look at your power bill, I bet yours is maybe, I don't know, I would, because our rates have increased a little bit, but the overall energy, I really feel like it's just our growth that we're having. I don't know if each resident is using 8% more. I think it's mostly our growth that we are seeing. With our commercial that we've had, with the, let's just say tag and go, we got a new hotel, like that's where that growth's happening with our energy increase is that I don't think each individual home has increased 8%. I think it's mostly our new growth that's coming on. So
Certain customers are skewing data.
yeah. I don't think it's the residents that have been here, 20, 30 years that's showing that 8%. It's mostly that new growth. So, yeah. And a lot of these newer things that are coming in are all electric. So it's going to be, it can still stay at that 8%. So let's see. This was assigned to UAMS the output of any outside resource, non-UAMS resource pursuant to an appendix. So in other words, our generator is a non-UAMS resource, our natural gas generator. We could assign that into the market if needed, if they are resource deficient. But UAMS will obviously act as the scheduling agent for us, so they'll call us up and say, hey, can you start your generator? Where you could get paid for that at a certain amount, as long as our gas prices are at a decent price. So that's a plus for us to where we've added this. UAMS will not schedule, dispatch, or bid any consigned outside resources into an organization unless expressly declared available by the participant. So if our generator is available, it's not running, we can say, yeah, we can utilize that for the outside market. So if we're using it for ourselves, we can't do that. That's kind of what's the difference in that exhibit there. Other agreement provisions, payment obligation rate covenant, representations and warranties, indemnification and liabilities. This is just mostly legal stuff there. UAMS is seeking approval of the amended restating pool agreement for all pool participants, which is all members of UAMS. There's 47 members. Approved package includes the authorization approval resolution, and you guys will see this the April 1st when this comes around. Obviously, the legal opinion, the participant certificate, amended and restating pooling agreement, which I have here, but then delivery of the approved documents prior to May 1. So that's kind of really quick. I know there's a lot there. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around it all. And I know that when we had that meeting the other day, I know we all came out of it like, whoa, you know, like there's a lot involved there, but I think it's a must need, and I think it'll help us in the future for, you know, what was the other pool agreement, 1980, so that's what, 46 years, so. And this one, you know, there could be some things that change in the next 5 years, that something has to change in, but with the EDAM market coming on and things like that, we're get this forward. Any questions?
Do we have enough resources in our portfolio to make this sufficient?
We don't. So each resource we do have, we have an entitlement.
Okay.
We don't have, let's just say, I'll just say Mevo, for instance, is a $65 million resource. We have 1,300 kW, so we have 1.3 megawatts out of that. So, you know, the percentage wise isn't a lot. A lot of these resources that we do have, we just have a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so once it all adds up, we're about, I recall, I should have looked at the numbers, but I think we're about 80% of our overall load capacity. Let's say, so if we peak at 10 and we only have enough resources for 7, but we have to buy that extra 3 or 4, which is whatever it be. And we have a generator coming online, it's going to be 2.2 megawatts. So we're still going to be short about 2 or 3 megawatts. Just depends on what our load looks like this year. So yeah.
I know I asked you this question at that meeting, and it kind of made it depend. What does it really mean to the average citizen?
There's no extra cost in this. There should be some. I can't say there's gonna be any savings, but there's not gonna be an extra cost. It's gonna, your power bill's gonna stay the same. That's really what it comes down to.
Well, that's good news compared to the water and the sewer guys.
Yeah. And
We did the power a couple.
yeah, we did a rate structure of power like 2 years ago. I think this starts going on our 2nd or 3rd year. And actually, during that rate study, I'll just go real quick. I know we're off, but our kilowatt hour price is actually going to go down this year, if I recall. And John maybe elaborate on that, but I think it's going to go down a little bit. But you know, the demand charge is what really gets us on a lot of the commercial stuff. So it's going to go up, but the kilowatt hour residential is going to go down. And it's not a lot. It's like a half a cent, or even might even be like a third of a penny or something like that, but it's not a lot. Okay, that's all I have.
Very much. Thank you. Well, that's all of our study agendas. On to action items. Gonna wait, we're gonna put that off, Ken. Just kidding. All right, action item A. City ordinance 26-02, Utah Wildland Urban Interface. Chief Hermanson.
Okay, we're here to discuss the WUI code again. This time it'll be up for a vote. But staff recommend
that Ephraim City Council adopt the ordinance adopting the urban wild land interface, WUI building standards and associated WUI boundary map. Utah House Bill 48 became law on March 2025, took effect January of 2026, and requires cities to adopt and enforce the WUI boundary standards described in state law. Adoption will align Ephraim City with state standards and establish clear construction standards in wildland risk areas and support long-term resilience by reducing the likelihood of wildfire spread to or from structures. The WUI code is a construction code with building standards intended to reduce wildland risk, including vegetation management around structures and ignition-resistant construction in wildland risk areas. This law was adopted to increase awareness of wildland risk areas, encourage shared responsibility for risk reduction of the wildland-urban interface, and addresses concerns about wildfire to homes and insurance availability. The WUI zone is where structures and human development meet and intermingle with undeveloped wildland. State requires cities to adopt a WUI code. Ephraim must create a boundary map, which was done on the previous. We have a copy of it up here. But it took in Shingle Mill Estates up in there. Adopting WUI code on the map provides 4 primary benefits. First, it brings Ephraim City into alignment with current state requirements. Utah law states that municipalities shall adopt and enforce wildland urban interface building standard for incorporated areas within the county or their areas. The same law provides that the division may choose not to pay certain costs under an agreement if the county or the municipality fails to comply. Second, it establishes a local regulatory framework for the development in the WUI area by preventing and reducing fire spread to and from structures. Third, it improves predictability for property owners, builders, and staff by clearly identifying the area where the code applies through the map. Fourth, it bans fireworks in the WUI area. This should be no cost to the city if the city approves the thing or to sign the code. The city attorney has approved this letter. Option number 1, the city approves the code with the map approved. Option 2 would be sign the WUI thing and adjust the map. Option 3 is do not adopt the ordinance, which would leave the city open to paying any bills associated with costs for wildfire. Staff recommend the city adopt this ordinance by adopting wildland urban interface code together with the associated wildland boundary map, as well as enforcing and banning fireworks in the WUI area. I move that the city council adopt this ordinance and approve the wildland interface code. Any questions?
Anybody? And I guess I'm looking for a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the Ephraim City Ordinance 26-02 Utah Wildland Urban Interface.
By Jack Delaney, any seconds? I second it. Second by. And Dennis, I'm gonna call you the mayor pro tem, but I said. All approve or all for it? Yes. Anybody against?
Yes.
You're against it?
I didn't say it.
That was Lauren. You're against it?
No, I said yes.
Oh. You're for it.
I said yes.
To which part?
Third parts I don't agree with, but yes.
Excellent. Thanks, chief.
You're on the next one too, I think, too.
I think we're gonna skip that. I'm gonna table it the whole stuff because there's some legal issue that we have to take care of with Nick.
Yes. I have a question on that. That's why I came to the meeting.
You had to sign up for public comment at the beginning. If you want to talk to us afterwards, that's fine, but.
Did sign the sheet there.
There's a form you fill
The
out.
form you have to fill out, fortunately.
So you're not gonna discuss this bill tonight, huh?
No, we're not gonna do the inspection. Which ones are you referring to? Wildland?
No, I'm speaking about number 2, Ephraim City Ordinance and the fire inspection.
Yeah, we had some legal issue with the way the thing was written, and so we have to wait for our attorney to fix it. So we're gonna do it, we'll table it and do it next month, sorry about
Okay, can I ask one question?
that.
Is Ephraim City enforcing fire inspection every year right now?
Yes,
Okay, so I thought the purpose of this was that for them to pass an ordinance to enforce fire inspection every year.
It's to clear up the language.
Oh, it's to clear.
And remove fire inspections for long-term rentals.
yeah, it's gonna take some of the inspections away on the single family units. And then it's just gonna clarify what we've been doing for the last 5 years.
Okay, good. Yeah. I got an email that said you were gonna adopt an ordinance to make it about every year, but as far as I know, I own some apartments. It's been every year.
Yeah, apartments will stay every year.
So it's just gonna continue.
Yeah, nothing will change for you.
Okay.
You got skip, Megan, you can skip, Jeff.
Oh, dang, sorry. I was just trying to go home.
I appreciate your optimism there. Yeah. Willowbrook bid.
Yes, so what we have, is the chip seal overlay project for this year. This is something that we do, every year. We had a good turnout with bids. Prices actually were cheaper this year than they were last year, which is unheard of. We had 4 bids last year. This year we have 7. So I'm thinking that, it's just getting a lot more competitive. So with that, are there any questions on the project itself? You guys seen the bids and everything?
So your recommendation is to go with Christensen?
My recommendation is to go with Christensen Ready Mix. They're kind of new to the chip seal game. I did talk to Manti City. They did their roads last year. They said they had a fairly decent job. And they were the lowest bid by a pretty substantial number. So we feel confident with going with them. So I guess I'm here to you guys to approve the resolution to award the bid. If there's no one to throw any more questions.
Any other questions? Comments? I'm looking for a motion then.
I'll make a motion to accept Christensen's as the chip seal provider this year.
So resolution 2605.
2605.
Second. All right, got a motion by the end of the road down there and the second guy at the end of the. All in favor? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thanks, Jessica. Megan, you're up now.
Right. Okay. So this first item, is for a kennel license or a conditional use permit for a kennel license. So, Jackson Mars is the property owner. Currently in Ephraim City, our code states that you can have up to 4 animals in your home. Cats, dogs, 3, you can do 3 cats, 1 dog, 2 dogs, 2 cat, any mixture, any more than that does require a kennel license. What the applicant is wanting to do is they have a large property and they are passionate about the stray cats in our community. They have 4 cats of their own, but what they're looking to do is essentially take on 1 to 2 cats at a time, get them their vaccinations, spay, neuter, rehome when possible, or kind of do a trap and release program where they will take them. A lot of stray cats can't be rehabilitated, and the most humane thing to do is to spay neuter them to reduce the population, and then release them. So they will be taking on that on their own dime. They are just wanting the ability to help cats in the neighborhood. The planning commission, once they heard what the applicant was intending, they all voted unanimously. They did put a restriction on it that the applicant is not looking to start taking in dogs and, horses and cows and goats. Those are not allowed on the property. But the planning commission did put a cap at no more than 10 animals on the property. So they have their 4 owned, so they could not take in more than 6 stray cats. They have property, or they have a like a shed building on the back of the property where they could house some of the cats. The conditions of approval were that they would have to apply for a kennel license. That's a business license every year. When they renewed every year, they would just have to provide proof of vaccinations for the animals within their care. Animals were just limited to household animals such as cats, dogs, goats, horses, cows, pigs, and other large animals may not be kept on the property. The yard and property must remain clean and free from feces with frequent and appropriate cleaning schedule. If animals are outside, they must be kept in the rear yard area. If there are any kennels or anything like that, they have to be no less than 10 feet back from the property line. They must be behind a solid building or fence for visual and auditory screening, and then again, no more than 10 animals on the property. The applicant is here, so if you would like to ask them any questions, or do you want to come up or say anything, or did I do an okay job of representing you?
I do have a question. So how are you planning on catching and trapping these? Are you gonna do it in other places than just your home, or what's the idea of how to gather these animals?
Hello, I'm Jackson Mars. So some in the back of our property, there's lots of strays that come in and out that we've just seen naturally, not because we're feeding them or because we're retracting them at all, that we've just seen them around our property. But of course, if we got approval from other people, or like if it was a service, they're like, hey, can you come trap these that are not spayed and neutered yet, or they're repopulating, then we'd come help out. But it would be more of an occasional thing. It's not like we're gonna be taking 5 every single month. So maybe once a month at most, we would take one, and it'd be on our own property, or if we get approval from other people's properties. Or this has happened before, people on Facebook have said, oh, this stray cat, we found it. Then we'll reach out and say, well, we can pick it up. And then we take care of all the vaccinations, and then spay and neutering, and then release it or rehome it, depending on how friendly it is and how long it'll take to be sociable.
So this is only cats?
Yeah, I mean, if there were stray dogs, we would help out, but there's just not, so.
The planning commission did note that this area has been a problem area for cats in the past. So I think there might have been a colony somewhere in that vicinity, and so they've kind of So I think that's why they see quite a few on their property.
As you go back another half block to the west, there's two properties where the individuals either have passed away or in a home. And those have been gathering places that they tried to do similar things with limited success.
The other interesting thing about wild cat populations is if you take a cat out of the population, it doesn't diminish the population because another cat just moves in. But it's not like if you take them out, if you take a stray and you take it out, that doesn't diminish the population in Ephraim because another cat will also move in versus you spay and neuter, then release them back, then they still go back to their territory and they keep other cats out or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I would encourage you to not rehome as many as you think you want to rehome because you're just affecting the dynamics of the wild cat population as well. So if you take a wild cat out, another wild cat's gonna move in. And it
Sounds
might
like a children's book.
and it might not be better than the one that you took out. Saying. Anyway,
I guess mainly it's just repopulation. They just don't want more, so we can release them. That's fine, but just repopulation is.
yeah, they're gonna curb, the catch spay and release has
The
been
whole,
the best.
yeah, I think on the whole, they will be doing more catching, spay and neutering and releasing. Most stray cats aren't super approachable most of the time.
Yeah, we went to Guantanamo Bay a few years ago and spent a couple of weeks, because they have, on that base alone, they have 7,000 stray cats, so it's a huge problem down there, but it's not a huge problem in Ephraim, but does that make sense, kind of? Yeah, knock on wood, it's not, so you'll catch and spay all of them, that would be awesome, because that would reduce it for everybody. Anyway. All right. So, you're looking for
I
a
move that we approve a conditional use permit of a Mars kennel license. With the conditions of approval.
second.
Thanks for your work, you guys. That's great.
Dennis Northfield and Anthony Beal are the first and seconds on that. All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? None of that. All right, Megan, you're next.
Okay, so that was approved, so now you just need to apply for your business license and we select the county. You're good to go. Thank you. All right, this next one is a rezone request for Camino Verde Group. So they have a portion of property that is currently zoned R2. They are seeking the R1B zone. So I'm just gonna kind of come up here. Okay. So this section here was recently rezoned just last year to R1B. These are where these flex homes are with the 3,000 square foot lots, smaller frontages. This is a little bit larger with 6,000 square foot lots and 60-foot frontages. So when they first asked for this, I actually told them it was a terrible idea because we want to be very protective of the R1B zone. We don't really feel like it's for everywhere. And we kind of wanted to continue that traditional lot size that we see in Ephraim through the end of that yellow where it meets the red. I initially was thinking more of the flex homes, and with 36 approved already in that area over time, I just didn't feel like it was a great fit for Ephraim. They came to me and presented their plan of what they want the lots to look like. And so it will actually be, they're going to keep it larger lots. It's going to be more like across the street with the 6,000 square foot lots. So you'll see a kind of gradual decline in lot sizes, ranging from about 14,000, 18,000 square feet at the largest, and then about 6,300 at the smallest. And so they're just looking mainly for a reduction in that frontage size. We actually end up with less lots if it were to stay R2, because R2 those could potentially be all duplexes through. So We're actually seeing a reduction in the zoning, a step down, just to continue those single family homes, and just. So staff felt comfortable with that, as long as they're, we did put a condition of approval on there. They do have to do a subdivision amendment, and vacate a road, which will come back before you as an amendment, if you approve the zone change. The lots must maintain a 60 to 80 foot frontage, and no lot may be under 6,000 square feet. And the parcels will not be eligible for multifamily dwellings or detached accessory dwellings. So with that in mind, staff recommends approval for this, and planning commission voted unanimously to approve this as well. The applicant is also here if you would like to ask.
It did eliminate a cul-de-sac.
Yeah, it eliminated a cul-de-sac, and I saw the new plan today. That road going onto 200 West will actually be eliminated, and it will just be a continuation, but there's sidewalk and stuff there. And so they're actually going to create like a little path through there, because there will eventually be like a kind of like a little park, town square there, and kind of a walking path. So it'll just kind of be like more of a walking path from the community on there somewhere.
Maybe hit on all points, so that was great. Just one quick thing about the vacation of 520 here. We want the walking path actually to be up here, so that people that are here don't have to walk down or around. They could just walk through, and we already have some infrastructure here, so on the old plan that was bigger. And the big reason why we're doing this is these are super wide lots, or deep lots. They're like 150 feet deep. So the smaller frontages, I mean, we're still having 11,000 square foot lots up here, right? But because they're so deep, we just wanted to have a little bit narrower lot. And so they go from, these are already approved for 4,000 square foot lots. These are, like she said, 6,000. And then we gradually go bigger as we go towards the traditional. And we just put a walking path there. And again, this is a down zoning, we're not trying to get more density. We're willing to forego density to keep the character of the neighborhood. Thank you for your time.
It's gonna cost more for water and sewer, Mike, you're gonna have to adjust your prices.
And you raised the dump impact 2 years ago.
Apparently it wasn't enough, because we still got to pay for it. All right, I'm looking for a motion. Yes, we'll do a motion.
I move that we approve the rezone request by CBG from south from R2 to R1B.
And I second. Dennis the Brewer, made the motion, and Troy seconded. I'll approve.
Yes.
Yes, anybody that doesn't like it. All right, Megan, you're on the next one too, it looks like.
And the one after that. Okay. So this is a rezone request, but because this rezone request did not match the general plan, we also had to do a general plan amendment. So a lot of the information is going to be exactly the same, but they will need to be two separate motions if you decide to, or however you decide to vote. Cody Perry is the applicant. He lives on 75 East, 300 North. Brian's pointing that out for you there. He owns the property, all that property back up behind him that is currently accessed through kind of that Parkade Plaza Dollar Tree parking lot. The property, he currently does not have, well, he has emergency access only to the property. But he does have in the works that if the rezone is approved, he does have a way to obtain access through to the property. So some of his property is currently zoned C2. The other portion of the property is zoned R3. So that portion that is zoned R3, the applicant is asking to rezone to C2. The general plan, the future general plan does not support a rezone here. It shows that continuing to remain medium density residential. If you look at our overall map of Ephraim, there's kind of a delineation between commercial, where the commercial ends, and it's usually about a half a block, full block from Main Street. And then you start seeing like your higher density and then like down stepping in your density away from Main Street. Or 89, sorry. If the rezone or the general plan amendment and rezone is approved, the applicant would like to utilize the property to bring an RV park for public use into the area. Staff loves the idea of an RV park. We think it's needed, and from the sounds of it, they are looking to make it really top notch. However, because of the access issue situation, we don't feel like this property is a good fit for that type. All those, anyone staying would have to enter from 89 through that already parking lot and back through where those apartments are. So really, we just don't feel like that fits the current location. We just feel like with traffic and road conditions and things like that, it's just not the best location. Again, love the idea, really would, love to see it somewhere in Ephraim. The planning commission was a split vote. 2 of them voted yes to support the applicant in rezoning his property. The applicant did mention that even if he did not move forward with a RV park, that he would still want his property, all of his property to be C2. So, that is a consideration as well. If he does decide to go ahead with the RV park, it would still have to come back to planning commission and council as a conditional use permit before he could move forward. The other 2 members of the planning commission, including our chair, Lisa Murray, voted nay because she did not feel comfortable voting against what the future general plan already states for that property. And, just some concerns about it, what the property would be used for. The applicant is here, so you're welcome to ask him any questions. We did kind of talk about, there's a road. We made this suggestion. He did state that the college did provide like an access here, because I think they lose a lot of balls onto his property with soccer and stuff. So they go over and get it. We suggested maybe even if this could be wide enough, so it could be accessed through here, that might be better with access.
I have spoken with the college, and their concern is they have a scoreboard right here
Oh,
that would have to all be moved. But I did speak with, so next to the roadhouse, these people own this property, and I'm in communication with them about maybe buying an access that would come straight across into here, or doing some kind of a land swap with them. I think they're in the works of doing some condominiums or
So is that
something.
trying to get the piece right behind Roadhouse?
The same people that own that next to the roadhouse.
Ones that own where the old hotel?
Yeah, where the hotel used to be. Yeah, so they own this and this and this piece. And so I met with them yesterday, and we're trying to see if we can get an access worked out to come straight through and then square up some properties. But for now, I would just like to get it zoned the same if possible. If an RV park doesn't work in the future, then so be it.
But Snoop come up down past your house, and then I walked over there yesterday and looked at that. As a, if you have a big RV, that would be a nightmare to come in.
Come back through here, yeah.
Make that turn.
it would, yeah. And so that's why,
You just widen your driveway to 40.
well, and we thought about doing that too, and I've talked to them about buying a little piece of their property next door too.
And we wouldn't want like that traffic going right through residential.
It makes
homes.
sense.
Yeah, and I think if you look historically at other RV parks, they're more kind of on the outskirts. They're not right dead center in the middle of town. So that's kind of the location we would like to see it. Again, if the applicant would like his property rezoned to C2, I'm not hugely against that, so.
Have you talked to your neighbor behind there? How do you propose this to them?
Which neighbor?
Oh, sorry, if I can answer just a small part of that.
Yep.
All the neighbors were noticed, did receive letters in the mail about the intent of the rezone and what it would be used for.
Yeah.
Neighbors, next door at 95 East, is that where they live?
Yeah.
95, they came and said they were in support of it. They were the only neighbors that we heard from.
Jeff's a neighbor.
I'm right on the west side.
Yeah,
The, so the people that own the apartments over here are, that's where we initially, because we have an emergency access and they have a right of way that through this, so they're willing to give us right of way. There's that kind of just dirt lot right there, but that is tight going through that, I understand. So my question too is, if I rezone that to commercial, does it have to stay commercial? Or, I mean, in the future, if we ever did decide to put a home or something back there, is that
so.
what's?
So you could have a home there
Oh.
if it's commercial. It would just fall under the R4 zoning requirements for residential. So you could put a single family home if it was, because it would be C2, it's a mixed use zone. So it can be you could do one home, you could do a single family home up to apartments or a commercial building back there. But I think the same thing would be a consideration, the access, yeah.
So I mean, if we can just get it switched, then if we can acquire the access, hopefully from down here. And then if not, then we won't worry about, we'll do something different. But I just hate how it's split right down the middle. But
We don't have a map.
That's up to
of,
you guys.
Future plan.
So we did, I mean, it's there, we do. Oh, you got it, okay, they did send us a new one, but essentially the application had expired, and so our link wasn't working anymore when I created this, but they sent us kind of a temporary
We have a temporary
fix.
until we get our website up and working. But this
Yeah.
is what we had before, so. Regular zoning is on the left, future zoning is on the right. Location is, here's Main Street, here's the dollar store. And the property here is currently commercial in this little corner of R3. So on this one, future is commercial and that little corner stays as medium density, so it matches the existing zoning for the future zone.
But that little corner would get, I mean, essentially it's landlocked, but they're not zoned the same. Because there's virtually no access to that top little corner. Is my concern.
So by making this change, you're saying that you could then use that property because it's connected to the other property.
Right, or it's connected to my home, my driveway or my house.
So you've got the map like this, the piece that goes down the third north. You gonna change that to C2 as well?
His parcel is already,
Yeah, his home already is on C2.
It's on C2.
Yep.
I see it on here, but I don't see it on
The lines all in line with First East.
Yeah, so this is where his home is. He's already in the C2 zone for his home. This
property he owns is already C2, so it's, and this line is approximate, but this other portion of the properties is R3 with the remainder of this out here.
This property is that little piece that's connected to the soccer field there.
This? I think that I kind of messed up on the line, on the parcel lines. I think it goes over. Yeah, it actually goes over.
All the way over. and that
Yeah.
Piece would be part of it as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going off of, not all of our parcel lines are exact, so.
So we have south of his property residential. And his property commercial.
That's what it would be if you approve the general plan amendment and the rezone.
And the access. The best case scenario would be accessing it from 300 there or from.
Yeah.
There,
I mean-
we don't have a very optimistic.
I don't know
From 589.
where on 300 you would access unless he obtained other property and made that a road going, a private road going up into that area.
Just knock your house down, won't be a problem. I should. Yeah. And as I was talking to these guys that own this, their development group, they was even talking about maybe swapping an access off of Main Street and letting me come, or swapping completely this for this and letting me do the RV up here and they would do their apartments back. I don't know, there's
That would
a
be a
bunch of,
brainer in my mind.
yeah,
Of course, but
that would be awesome for me, but I don't know if it'd be so good for them. So that's just kind of where.
It is kind of awkward the way that's all developed. It is pretty landlocked.
And the thing is it's been in my family for like 100 and something years, and so it was, some of it was my grandpa's, some was my great grandpa's, and it all just got divided up, and then I ended up buying it all, but it stayed. So I paid tax, there's like actually 3 different parcels, but it's all inside that chain link fence.
Same as my house.
Is it?
I got two parcels.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the applicant or myself?
I do not.
Okay.
So I'm looking for a motion.
and again, Megan, this is a two-part thing, right?
Yes, so you do the general plan amendment first and then the rezone,
And we're not talking tonight about actually approving
an RV park, no. This is just.
Great
the
idea, I'm just trying to straighten it.
And I think was the trouble with zoning is they kept mixing everything together instead of just focusing.
Yeah, focusing on the rezone, yeah.
Yeah, that's where they struggled.
And we're doing these as separate motions, I guess.
Still looking for a motion.
I'm looking for the words. Okay, I motion. Well, are we ready, you guys?
I'm ready.
Nobody's feeling hungry. I motion that we accept this general plan amendment. Woody Perry, where he's rezoning from R3 to C2.
I'll second it. Have a motion from Anthony Beal, seconded by Russell Glass. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed?
I oppose.
All right, so now I'm looking for a motion on the rezone request.
I motion to rezone the request for Cody Ferry from R3 to C2. Item G.
Right, a motion from Councilman Steck. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a second. Jack Lane, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed?
I oppose.
Excellent. We made it through. Almost. On the second, meeting of the month, we're going to do council reports. So if anybody has some good things to say about the committees that they're on, this would be the time. And we'll start with Troy.
I have nothing.
Mr. Delaney.
Nothing, covered everything already, so.
Excellent. Mayor Pro Tem.
The Scandinavian Festival has received the word. Well, a couple of things. We're not gonna get our pickleball courts in time, it looks like. For the Scandinavian Festival, so they're scrambling to make other arrangements. That. And
the painting, what's up to that?
yeah, just the painting, I guess we're on the queue. They've got to wait till it gets a certain temperature, but then we're down on the list. So we're trying to work with the college and see if they'll let us in the blue gym.
Just have Jordy get out there with some tape. Tape it
We'll
on.
talk about that as well. And then just the last couple of days, they've actually heard about the fat old professors that we've heard. So yeah, I think they're gonna go back to the drawing board for that, and see if get that square met and then what will happen. But that's all.
Perfect.
Mr. Beal.
Yeah, just, real quick, I helped, with the youth city council. We went up to Logan on Thursday and Friday night. Really great event, statewide Utah Youth Councils. So there were 21 or 22 different cities, youth city councils there last weekend, about that same number the weekend before. Connected well with Mount Pleasant and Richfield city councils, youth city councils, and we'll plan to support each other in some activities this summer. Julie Arnoldson and I drove 5 kids up and had a great time. There's about 16, but if they wanted to go to this, they had to have good attendance and those types of things. Library board met yesterday, and we were just reviewing our policies and things are going really well there.
On the Capitol visit.
Yeah, that was great too. Troy Shelley took, I think we had 7 or 8 youth up to the day on the Hill for that, or the legislative session with Troy. They sat with him and right on the floor, so that was great. Yeah, things are going well.
Mr. Day.
Having to report meetings next week.
Excellent. So you said last time. So I guess that's about it. Looking for a motion.
Motion that we end the meeting.
Second. Troy motion. Anthony seconded. All in favor? Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? I think it's unanimous.